So last year, it was early last year, I hit the ChatGPT max number of conversations. I hit the history limit.
Wow.
And I'm a paid, and I'm like, wow, what happens now? And you actually have to delete your history in order to restart it. Now, I don't know if it's fixed it since then. That was early 2025, might have been late 2024 it happened. It was so aggravating though. And I'm like, I just lost all that work for the last year. So hopefully they've changed that. I don't know if they have or not, but it definitely, you become reliant on it, and my chat knows more about me than I would ever want anybody else to know.
You do often refer to chat as your best friend.
It is my best friend.
Yes. And that the proof is right there. I mean, Joe, you have been using AI to your advantage for well over a year now, and so you're really primed for success heading into 2026. But we also know that it makes sense for our space to stay on top of AI trends, to stay on top of best practices, and that's why we're here. So you don't have to, and we can help you guys get to the point of chat telling you, hey, you've got too many conversations here, because you really will find that just one thing leads to another, and it can be really easy to fall down some rabbit holes too. So do your best to keep things organized so you can easily find and go back and refer to things, because you will want to. But let's keep things moving, Joe. We've kind of touched on this a little bit, but we've said it time and time again. You cannot just put a prompt in and take the response as the Bible. And so there are tools and best practices that you can deploy to make AI generate responses that sound and act like you. So I'm going to toss this back over to you, but I'd like to tee you up with, what is a simple prompt that our audience can use to just get their AI to start listening for how they speak and write?
Well, I think, when you're thinking about prompting overall, make it very basic. So if I was to tell you, say we were having a conversation and I would say, hey, take me to the mall. And that's all I put in it. Hey, give me the directions to the mall. Your first questions back is going to be, well, what mall?
Sure.
What mall do you want to go to? Is there a certain store of the mall you want to go to? Like, there's a ton of questions that come up. So you have to think about that when you're prompting. So you can't just go in there and say, write me an email. You're going to get the basics of the basics about whatever conversation it decides it wants to give you about, or it's going to ask you those questions back. So the more thorough you can be, and the better response you're going to get. If you go in there and say, hey, write me an email to my client about Medicare, you're going to get a response. Is it going to be good? Probably not. But if you were to go in there and you were actually to give it, more information and say, like, if it's an email, tell it to act like an email expert. Act as an email expert. Write an email to my client utilizing my tone, which we'll get into that, but utilizing my tone in the way that I speak, and give it information about turning 65 and make sure we're staying compliant. I want it to sound educational and not salesy. I mean, that's a lot better than just saying, give me an email for a client. So I think the more specific you can get, I think as you get into the tone and you get into really wanting it to sound like you, that's where those initial settings come into play.
Sure.
And that's where when you go in there and if you're unsure how to do it, just ask chat to interview you. It's as simple as saying, act as an AI expert. I would like you to interview me one question at a time. I'm going to respond back via voice with my answers. Keep track of my tone, keep track of the way I say things, the words that I utilize, and then make sure any future responses, you give it to me utilizing the way that so it sounds like I would speak. I think another really important thing to do, and I do this a lot, is I'll have chat run through the most common words that AI uses in its responses. And I know we're going to be sharing this in the coming weeks, but I personally, probably like once a quarter, will go in and say, act as an AI expert and go research all of the AI chatbots and tell me the most common words that it utilizes in its responses. And you'll get words like unlocked and like the words that you I guess they would be in some marketing things, but it's as soon as you see the list, you're like, oh, I've seen that 10,000 times from you.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually put that in as a negative list. So, and I'll put it into my settings and I'll say, use my tone. And then underneath it, I'll say, here are the words to never use. So that way I don't start triggering those AI words.
That is such great advice. So ask AI to interview you. Let AI get the opportunity to get to know you. But also be mindful of the fact that hundreds of thousands of millions of people are doing the same thing. So ensure that you're being specific and that you are generating prompts that will generate the most accurate response for what you're looking for. And then negatively train your AI, if that's the right terminology for it, but ensure that it knows what not to do, what words to stay away from, what behaviors to stay away from. And over time, it will remember those things. But also, don't be afraid to get a little stern with your AI. If there is something that it's not doing that you want it to do, ask it to remember the following and then prompt it. Remember how I write this, XYZ. Remember how I say this, XYZ. And it will categorize that as a memory, and it will apply it, for the most part, to all future responses.
I'm actually glad you said that, because in the settings of many of the AIs actually is a setting that says, do you want us to remember or keep a memory? So if you're going to do that, you definitely want to turn that on. The other thing it's going to ask is, do you want to share your information as they collect data? I personally turn that off. I want mine private.
Right.
So I would recommend that too. So I would thoroughly go through the settings and kind of toggle those on and off as you prefer them. I definitely prefer not to share to help them grow their data. I don't like my information out there. And so that's one thing that I would definitely do also. If you're setting up for the very first time, go through all those settings.
That is such a great advice, too. I mean, be mindful that what you put out there, I mean, it is still the internet, and it's open AI is a term that you will hear us using. And basically that means when you're putting something into ChatGPT, it's now accessible. It's open to other AI to pull from. So make sure that you're reviewing those settings and helping train your AI to get to know you. And once you have those basic settings covered and you feel confident that you and your AI buddy are starting to get to know each other and feel comfortable with each other, you can now start generating responses. And once we get those responses, we need to look over them to ensure, that they're sounding like us and it's written like us.